Happened today, phew. If I worry about it, I'll lose. We should probably just ignore this and force our opinion on them. You were dealing with Velzard-san, who was acting selfishly and violently. I solved that. That's right. Rimuru only cooperated. I was able to return to my senses because Guy persuaded me. Are they a lovey-dovey couple? This is why those dragon species are so troublesome. He doesn't even realize that he is favoring, hatting, or disliking someone, and he devotes himself to just one person. Even more than Guy, persuading Velzard was impossible. Realizing this, I decided to change my approach. Phew, I think I work a little too hard. It's a strategy that appeals to emotions. Or rather, it would be troubling to be asked to deal with the creator god. I was originally just an ordinary salaryman, and although I've been through my fair share of hell, I'm still just a humble, ordinary person. That's a stretch, but I'm nothing more than a demon lord. You know, Dino-san and Rumina-sama are here too, forcing this important mission on me alone. Okay, you do it. Rimuru-san, there's no need to call me San. Just give me a pay raise to make up for it. Don't say it with a smile. By the way, negotiating your salary before you even start working is nonsense. Hire me too. Please do the same. I'll work harder than Dino. Well, compared to Dino, anyone would be a hard worker. There's no need to call me Sama. It's disgusting. That's a harsh thing to say. It's true that I had ulterior motives. I tried various ways to escape, but it seemed impossible. Guy's expression became serious as he said this. Seriously, I lost to Veldonava once. I don't know how much of his strength he has regained from his prime, but I think we have a higher chance of winning if we all challenge him together. It was rare for Guy to reveal his true feelings, so I had no choice but to nod. While I was buying time against Veldonava, Guy defeated Ivarage. After that, everyone would beat Veldonava to a pulp. That was the general plan. Don't say things like full of holes. There is a critical lack of information, making it impossible to come up with an effective strategy. Incidentally, we have decided not to inform the people from all countries gathered here about Veldonava's resurrection. The decision was made that there was no point in saying anything, and that it would only cause panic. With the course of action decided, Guy headed towards Ivarage. As for me, I plan to leave it alone until Veldonava comes down. I'm not trying to slack of. If they were going to buy time, they should delay the start of the battle even a little. What a great idea. I was about to congratulate myself when a man who looked just like Feldway stood in front of me. Wow, teleportation. I quickly dodged it. Veldonava used teleportation and swung his arm towards my head. If I had been even a little late, my head would have been chopped off. If I had let my guard down, it would have been over. I'm grateful for Seal's advice. My neck is gone, I'm fine. There's no way it's okay. That's what stops people, right? It's a slime, but that's not the issue. My immortality is quite impressive, really. Still, it seems like something has finally happened. Veldonava looked at his hands curiously. It looks exactly like Feldway, just a different color. Her eye color is gold. His long, jet-black hair shone like stars. They probably looked the same, but strangely, Veldonava seemed sexier. Did you avoid it? Well, you'd avoid it. I don't feel pain, but I don't like pain. Or rather, as the term phantom limb pain suggests, even just feeling the pain is difficult. I have a very vivid imagination, so I think I'd be shocked if my head was cut of. Even if that wasn't the case, I would definitely refuse. You are indeed a maximum singularity. Teeth. He started saying things that didn't make sense, but I had no idea what he meant. So naturally, I answered, I don't know. Are you really the stellar king dragon, Veldonava-san? That's right. When I asked him directly, he answered simply. Thinking that this was the case, I continued to ask questions one after the other. Why are you trying to destroy the world? It may seem like I'm provoking them, but I think it's okay. Just like in a fight, if you get underestimated, you lose. You must try to remain calm in this situation. Because we've decided you're a failure. Teeth. It clicked, but I had to bear it. I mean it literally. I just couldn't bring myself to forgive those who took my beloved wife. Veldonava said this, and this time he fixed his fighting spirit and aura into the shape of a sword and took a stance. I'm very happy that they've gone to the trouble of preparing weapons to fight. Someone like me. At that moment, a reliable ally joined the battle. Feldway stood next to me, sword at the ready. Good luck, Feldway. I'd be grateful if you could repay me right now for helping you. You are wrong. As your vassal, I will stop you. Okay, good. Feldway, that's the spirit. I'm fully prepared to back you up. Guy was fighting against Ivarage, while Milim and Veldora were supporting him. The sisters Velzard and Velgrind were in charge of containing the aftermath of the battle. In other words, if we were to go on a rampage here, it could lead to a major disaster. Feldway will be the opponent, and I'll support him. The dimensions are designed to freeze the surface of the Earth and minimize the impact on the land. That's my authority, right? Velzard seemed to want to say something, but I ignored her. By the time I analyzed it, I was able to handle it as a matter of course, explaining. It would take too long, so I just pretended I hadn't noticed. On the side of Ivarage, it was Velzard and the others. As for Veldonava, I will take responsibility and keep him in check. This was the most natural and least damaging combination. Incidentally, Benimaru is also here, and Testarossa is waiting. Diablo is also there. He's a pain, but he's reliable at times like this. It seemed that Ultima had also rushed to our side, and we were perfectly prepared to cooperate. However, he was worried that something might happen until he understood the extent of Veldonava's strength. Victory or defeat isn't decided by the amount of energy alone, but against an opponent with an incomparable amount of power. Techniques alone are not enough. I understood that Ivarage was dangerous because Veldora had complained about it to me. However, there is still too little information about Veldonava. Hopping for Feldway's best efforts, I decided to wait and see what would happen. Now the battle has begun. Can this really be called a battle? Veldonava was strong. In fact, I expected it to be weak, but it was honestly worse than I expected. My first thought was that Feldway was being treated like a child. Feldway's sword possessed tremendous power, even at a glance. Converting that power into existence value, it is estimated to be in the tens of millions. Well, the exact number is meaningless, so let's leave that aside for now. Even though he was swinging that incredibly powerful sword, Veldonava was able to easily handle it with just his own fighting spirit and aura that he had transformed into a sword. And it has always been passive. Although he did not initiate any attacks, he acted like a leader who was supporting Feldway. With such a large gap, Feldway had no chance of winning. What should I do? Yes, I can understand why you are worried. If I hadn't sworn loyalty to Milim Sama, I would have blindly followed my master. Such a voice was heard from behind. It belonged to Zalario and Obra, who were watching the match. Leaving Obra aside, Zalario had pledged his loyalty to Veldonava. It was understandable that he would have mixed feelings. That's why I'm saying it. If you intend to follow Veldonava, I won't stop you. Is that okay? It's not good, but it can't be helped, right? Ivarage's destructive acts were unjustified, but I can understand why Veldonava wanted to destroy the world. When I said that, Zalario fell silent and thought deeply. As I just said, I understand how you feel. Ivalage is pure malice. It's like a child innocently breaking something. There's no meaning to it. It's the adult's responsibility to scold them. On the other hand, Veldonava is different. He had a clear purpose and was driven by solid reasons. Even I lost my temper when my loved ones were about to be taken away from me. Fortunately, we avoided tragedy that time. What if the damage was even worse, and it was impossible to recover? In that case, I couldn't deny the possibility that I might have gone mad as well. I'd like to think that he didn't try to destroy the world, but I'm not sure. Veldonava had himself and his wife killed by humans. His beloved daughter, Milim, was also on the verge of becoming unhappy. Because of humans. Considering these circumstances, it seems reasonable to choose to reset everything and start over. It was a bold move that only a god could pull of, but it made sense as a reason. For his actions, well, I can understand it, but I don't agree with it. From the creator's perspective, the sovereignty of his creations is probably not something he should be concerned about. If a robot created as a servant were to disobey humans, humans would probably get angry and say, "Don't mess with me." The plot of an artificial intelligence created by humans rebelling has been humorously depicted in movies and manga from all over the world, past and present. I think that whether artificial intelligence should be granted equal rights to humans is also an issue that needs to be discussed. Seal is my best and strongest partner. It was supposed to be an ability or skill that I created, but now it seems to have gained a sense of self and is living freely. To me, Master is everything. Thank you. Ideally, we would build the best possible relationship like we do, but sometimes that's not possible. When that happens, to what extent should we recognize the rights of our creations? In this case, that creation is us. Even if they tell me that I am a failure and will be eliminated, I cannot agree. We live in this world. As long as he was alive, he was determined to resist all injustice with all his might. That's why my reason for fighting is to survive. As if he had seen through my thoughts, Veldonava sweetly invited me. I don't understand why you would defy me. Feldway, you were planning to take us to the new world, weren't you? Along with Celerio, Obra, and Dino. Guy is my friend, and I intend to keep all the other useful people alive. There's no need to oppose me for the sake of incompetent and vulgar people, is there? Those words are fascinating. Veldonava intends to start over after having Ivarage destroy the world. He says that he will take those he recognizes in this world with him to the next world. I haven't been invited, but to be honest, if I was approached, I'd probably be worried. I think that's impossible. That's right. If I were to include everyone I'm connected to, then it would no longer be a matter of initializing. Conditions like narrowing it down to only those directly involved are rejected. If we were to carry over the current relationships as they are, it would have an impact on almost all of the inhabitants of this world. After all, the people I'm connected to have acquaintances, and those people also have people they love. If only a portion of the population were to emigrate, there would be resentment no matter what we did. However, if there is no other way, we will have to make a choice. This time it's different. It's all or nothing. There may be some who are opposed to going against God, but I hope those people will just pray quietly. I intended to fight to the end and seize the future. I will accompany you to the end. I have already analyzed the method of world creation, so I will be able to deal with anything that happens. Wow, you're as reliable as ever. I couldn't understand it at all, but with Seal there, it seemed like anything would work out. With this realization in mind, I watched the situation unfold. Feldway thought carefully and slowly opened his mouth. It's true that to me, a bunch of random humans don't have much value, but it's different for you. You were the only one who mattered to me, but to you, there was my wife, Lady Lucia, and your daughter, Lady Millam. Your 3 younger siblings are also important to you, and you were also friends. With Guy and Rudra, they love and cherish this world. If you were to take that away from them, you would surely regret it. Feldway spoke passionately. If he understood that much, why did he do something like that? Or maybe Diablo punched him, and he came to his senses. It seems my persuasion was effective, Dino said with a smug look on his face. I was a little surprised that it turned out to be useful in an unexpected way. For the time being, I just praised him, saying, "You did a good job." Dino's feelings seemed to have reached Feldway, but not everything goes well in this world. Feldway's appeal was filled with compassion for Veldonava. If his words resonated with him, it made him think that perhaps he would change his mind. Unfortunately, Veldonava's response was cold. If you're looking for regrets, I already did it, when I lost Lucia. It was a chilling, emotionless voice. What lies there is a bottomless void. By giving free will to life, fools who draw their bows against God were born. No. That's not right. If they had simply defied me, I would have forgiven them, but they took something precious from me. How can I forgive them? Veldonava's resolve was unwavering. Feldway's voice fell into disarray in the face of his ironclad will, and fell flat. It seems that the only solution is to decide the outcome. I was convinced of this, and let out a melancholic sigh. Feldway was blown away by Veldonava's intimidation. It seemed to be a sign that he wasn't going to get in the way, but Feldway stood up again, and even though he probably knew he couldn't win, he didn't give up and went on. The challenge. You've got guts. I'm just stubborn. I thought you'd give up sooner. Surprisingly, it's holding up quite well. It seems that his body is able to regenerate in time, and even minor injuries seem to heal in an instant. Since he was blessed with Rimuru-sama's noble blood, that level is only natural, Diablo said with a frustrated look on his face. Someone heard that one word and reproached him. It's a Tensura. Come to think of it, that fool was also given to us by Rimuru-sama. Yes, that's right, it's disgusting. In that case, it seems that something struck him during his conversation with Diablo. Just as I thought that, I suddenly felt like I was about to collapse. I quickly support her. Oh, are you okay? The effects of what happened earlier have also caused damage to me. Tensura said this with a fleeting smile. If you don't know her true nature, she just appears to be a fragile beauty. I guess I'm pretty stupid, since I was fooled even though I knew the truth. Diablo clicked his tongue for some reason and started to say something, but before he could do so, Tensura, leaning on me, spoke up. Rimuru-sama, I have a favor to ask. Tensura looks up at me. What is it? I have a weakness for beautiful women. Hinata looked at me in amazement, but she was easily fooled by this kind of behavior. In order to get myself back in shape right now, please bestow some of Rimuru-sama's flesh and blood upon me. Well, you want my slime cells. Well, that's fine, but I don't think it has that much of an effect. Phew, then I'll prepare some special recovery medicine. Yes, please. And so, Tensura's request was granted, and she had the same recovery potion that had healed Diablo prepared, a fake special recovery potion. However, the story didn't end there. That's unfair. Rimuru-sama, I want one too. Ultima was begging me cutely. Ultima is a cute and good girl, so I can't help but listen to her requests. Although he has a cruel and brutal side, it's hard to believe that it's the same person when you see it with your own eyes. When Ultima asked me to do something like that, all I could say was sure. I had another special recovery potion prepared, this one mixed with my slime cells. Just as I was thinking of handing this over to the two of them, Carrara appeared. Carrara, who had apparently fallen asleep from exhaustion, was being carried by Esprit and Ajara when she suddenly woke up and jumped up. "My lord, please stop leaving me out. Carrera also wants my special recovery potion as a reward. I heard that he did his best to defeat the dangerous guy, so this is a small price to pay." I nodded in agreement and asked for a third one. And so he handed it to the 3 expectant girls. The 3 girls were delighted and drank it all up. "Now you can't brag about it anymore," Testarossa said, smiling at Diablo. "Sorry about that." Ultima also encouraged Diablo. "This is amazing. I feel so much better now." Carrera was happy at her own pace. What are these girls doing while Feldway is fighting so desperately? That's what I thought, but I was easily swept away, so I was just as guilty. Feldway's efforts are beginning to reach their limits. Just as I was thinking it was about time for me to take action, Zalerio spoke up. I cannot betray Lord Veldonava." Diablo narrowed his eyes, so I calmed him down. It was better to be declared an enemy than be betrayed. "Well, that's it. To begin with, we don't have a deep relationship with Zalerio. He seemed to get along well with Leon, but we were enemies. We are currently at the stage where we hope to call a ceasefire and build a good relationship from now on. However, it would be naive to think that they would become allies. You're as earnest as ever. It's because you're stubborn like that Feldway takes advantage of you," Obra retorted. In fact, it seems that he was a little late in making a decision and ended up being dominated. This could also be seen as a cautious personality, so it's not a question of whether it's good or bad. You could also say it was just bad luck. Therefore, I respect Zalario's decision. I'd be happy if you wouldn't get in the way at least. I asked him to do so. Feldway is at the mercy of Veldonava. Veldonava was probably checking his physical condition. If he wanted to end it, he could just use the same attack that had left Feldway in tatters earlier, and it would be over in an instant. Normally, I would think that such composure would be fatal, but this time it was different. Just by looking at it, it's clear that it's becoming more and more sophisticated. In other words, Feldway had no chance of winning from the start, but even value as a training opponent was coming to an end. If Zalerio were to join the battle at this point, it would no longer be a matter of buying time. Rimuru-sama, should I get rid of Zalerio? Stop it. Diablo spoke with a strong desire to kill, but was rejected. Benimaru shrugged in exasperation, but he was watching the situation with the determination that he would not stay silent if Zalerio got in the way. Zalerio says, "Honestly, I don't know which is the right answer. I believe it is the duty of a vassal to follow the wishes of their lord. However, I feel that Feldway is not wrong. The only option I can have right now is to do nothing." Although it was a very negative idea, it seemed like one good answer. To be honest, it's fine as long as it doesn't get in the way. Those who had a close relationship with Veldonava would be worried about what to do with themselves. Having someone like Zalerio watching over them would be the greatest help to us. While this was going on, Feldway collapsed. It seems that infinite regeneration had been activated thanks to my cells, but even with that unexpected side effect, it was impressive how it held up. After all, Veldonava's sword skills alone were the best. He was probably better than not only Hakuryu, but Ajara as well, and there was no doubt that he was an unrivaled master. Not only that, he also demonstrated a martial art that incorporated teleportation. It would have been impossible to respond to a teleportation from a sliding step, which would have seemed like the movement of a sword on first sight. Feldway had also been slashed. It seemed Veldonava had no intention of killing, but it was a blow that would have resulted in instant death for a normal person. Could you have reacted? Q few few foo foo. At first glance, it was a bit harsh. Hearing Diablo's honest answer, all I could say was, "That's right. The sword alone is this strong." I began to lose confidence in whether it was really possible to stop Veldonava. It's okay. That unfounded consolation only made me feel more uneasy. And this is where the real horror began. Veldonava said, "It's going to take a little more time for you to get your senses back. It's going to be boring just watching, isn't it? I'll prepare some playmates for you guys." It's not like he's regained his sense of intuition. It's still amazing enough. I was wondering what else he wanted to do, but I soon understood what he meant. From here, on 3 sides except for the east, I felt a huge presence returning. I think it was Keikashi, Habataki, and Suimu. It seems that Ivarage was sad about losing her children. I did something to help. Veldonava said so. You're kidding me, right? I went to the trouble of defeating him. I guess that was a failure. Next time I'll have to cut him into pieces until he turns to dust so he can't revive. Ultima and Carrera's murmurs gave me confidence. The real battle against the malice that wishes for the destruction of the world is yet to come. Guy was overwhelming Ivarage. He easily dominates the battle with Ivarage and pushes him back towards Tensukaku once again. This reduced the burden on those who were watching over them. As expected of Guy, Velzard said proudly. With Waldo out of his reach, Guy was invincible. He even effortlessly cut in half the destructive ray fired by Ivarage, obliterating it. In contrast to Velzard, who looked happy, Velgrand was stunned. You're kidding me. I lost a lot of energy after being hit by that thing. No matter how much they tried to protect the weaker ones, it's true that they couldn't defeat them when they were hit head-on. Guy was doing this without any difficulty. Velgrind was once again astonished at Guy's awesomeness, realizing that he was even more powerful than she had imagined. Velzard explained to Velgrind with a smile. Of course, even my strongest secret technique, cold absorption whiteout. Absorb was cut in half by Guy in one slash. It's only natural that an attack inferior to that wouldn't work. Velzard knew more about Guy's strength than anyone else. That's why he has some complicated aspects, but he is happy that his beloved Guy is being praised. Although Velgrind thought that her older sister was troublesome, she had no choice but to accept it. In fact, Guy is strong. Ivarage caught the Waldo. That Guy had seemingly fired carelessly with compassion, karma. However, he was defeated and blown away. Although their sword skills were equal, there was a huge difference in their skill and level. Kyaha. You're nothing special either. The combination of his overwhelming sword speed and efficient sword movement made it impossible for Ivarage's casual swordsmanship to cope, and Guy was not so lenient as to allow Ivarage to grow. That's strange. Even though I'm having a hard time, it looks like Guy is pushing forward. This makes Guy look stronger than me. Milim lamented, looking frustrated. In fact, anyone could see that Guy's abilities were superior. I was concentrating on stalling you, so I wasn't being serious. If I was serious, I wouldn't lose. If he was serious, he was superior, or so Veldora seemed to say. The fact that he used the word serious twice gave off a strong sense of sour grapes. Yes, that's right, I was just tired too. Milim also added more excuses. That's true. If it were me, it wouldn't be a hard fight. Q ha 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 ha. Velzard was the one who heard this and reprimanded him. My, are you trying to say that Veldora-chan is superior to Guy? For an instant, time seemed to stop and Veldora stiffened. There was a hint of impatience on his face, as if he wished he hadn't said anything unnecessary. That's because, it looks like Guy is unleashing a cool technique. Picture Veldora used his wits to successfully divert Velzard's attention. He then made a firm vow to never step on a landmine again. Without paying any attention to the reactions of those around him, Guy calmly cornered Ivarage. He had entrusted Rimuru with dealing with Veldonava, but he understood that it was an unreasonable request. Well, maybe I can do something about that guy, but Veldonava is stronger than me. I need to quickly get rid of him and provide support. Surprisingly, Guy is a man of strong sense of duty. If he found out that Rimuru was leaving it to Feldway and watching from the sidelines, he would undoubtedly be furious. Unaware of this, Guy was observing Ivarage. Guy's strength basically begins with observing his opponents. He doesn't become arrogant or conceited because he's strong, but rather he sees through the weaknesses of his opponents and exploits them. However, since Guy never deals with truly weak people, there was a hidden and important purpose behind his observation. He wanted to understand the authority and special abilities that the person possessed and make them his own. The numerous experiences he had accumulated in this way supported Guy as an absolute powerhouse. The same is true when facing Ivarage. Although Ivarage possesses special abilities, he does not possess powers such as ultimate abilities or ultimate skills. Even without such things, he was at the pinnacle of his status as a god of destruction. However, things are different when facing Guy. Kyaha. It's useless. Guy easily parried the powerful sword strike, and it was all over. In terms of existence value, Ivarage was overwhelmingly superior, but in terms of maximum instantaneous output, Guy was superior. Just like Diablo, Guy was able to gather magical power from the atmosphere and use his maximum energy amount as the maximum output. In this case, magical power refers to the amount of magic essence or energy. It means that one can continue fighting without exhausting oneself, and even though he had just gone through a long battle with Velzard, Guy was barely exhausted. I feel tired, but it's at a negligible level. This combat sense is Guy's greatest strength. Through the few minutes of combat, Ivarage also understood how dangerous Guy was, the appearance of an enemy that could not be defeated by overwhelming force came as a surprise to Ivarage. However, the emotion that Ivarage felt was joy. Kyaha. Ivarage's presence changed. From a child who only played with toys, to a child who is full of curiosity and wants to learn from others. Modeled after the peerless beauty Lucia, with the cruelty of a child on her face. Ivarage stared at Guy with clear eyes, looking more terrifying than ever before. Ivarage remembered. I know you, I remember. Long ago, Ivarage had suffered a painful defeat against Guy. They decided to escape from the earth to another world. My sense of self had not yet developed, and at the time I only felt a sense of pain. But I remembered the frustration I felt at the time. I hate you. What a coincidence, I hate you too. Guy responded and resumed his attack on Ivarage. However, this is where Ivarage really comes into its own. Although she has taken on the appearance of Lucia, her body is that of Ivarage. Even if she is slashed, she will regenerate using lightning-fast regeneration, so slashing attacks will do almost no damage. Guy was also adding impacts, causing damage to accumulate throughout Ivarage's entire body, but the speed of its regeneration was still a bottleneck. It took a fair amount of time for Ivarage to tire out. Naturally, Guy also understands this. We are still in the wait-and-see stage, and intend to make our move once we find a decisive factor. The reality was that he couldn't afford to be so leisurely, but Guy wasn't in a hurry. He intended to steadily corner him and kill him for sure. But however, this is where a change occurs in Ivarage. Kyaha, the holy remains of Lucia that Ivarage ate, also contained information about the power that had resided within Lucia. It had been fragmented and no longer retained its original form, but this did not concern Ivarage. Individual, Ivarage has acquired ultimate ability, ultimate skill, king of knowledge. Raphael. The language of the world rang in Ivarage's mind. Ivarage was able to restore his powers from the remnants left behind in Lucia's holy remains. From here on, Ivarage will increase his skill and level at an astonishing speed. What a pain. Guy clicked his tongue in disgust. Guy hadn't let his guard down from the start, but with Ivarage's transformation coming to this point, he realized he had no choice but to give up hope of a quick resolution. Sorry, Rimuru, this is going to drag on for a while. Guy muttered an apology to Rimuru. He then continued to observe more deeply while revising his plan to attack Ivarage. Guy and Ivarage's sword attacks were becoming more and more intense. It is invisible to ordinary people. In this case, an ordinary person means someone below the super awakened million class level. This means that the majority of people in the world are unable to even recognize this battle. Or rather, if he stayed here, he would be hit by the pressure of the sword and turn to dust in an instant. Although such a fierce battle was unfolding, the real action had not yet begun. Ivarage is currently learning. It wasn't just from Guy's technique, but also from the memories within his own body. The main focus is on Lucia's memories, which are the source of her current appearance. Although it was fragmented and incomplete, it was easy to reproduce the techniques that the body remembered. She was Rudra's younger sister and Veldonava's wife. Her existence value during her lifetime was over 1 million, making her a super awakened 1 million class being, an existence that transcended the lifespan. There was no way that Lucia was weak, and although not to the same extent as her brother Rudra, she had mastered swordsmanship to a certain extent. Ivarage quickly mastered this skill. Not only that, but he also carefully examined all of the information elements of those he had eaten and reproduced all potentially useful technology. This will allow him to become skilled enough to rival Guy. This growth rate is too abnormal. Guy clicked his tongue and complained. They had been aiming to reach a swift resolution without holding back. However, their plans had gone awry. Kyaha. Ivarage thrust his left hand, which was not holding his sword, forward. Just before he was about to turn his hand towards him, Guy sensed the danger and jumped away. Immediately afterwards, a near-light speed destructive ray was fired from the palm of his hand, piercing the spot where Guy had been. If he had been one step slower, his body would have been pierced. The destructive ray collided with the wall of Tensura, causing the building to shake violently. It was a terrifying impact, but its power was nothing compared to what it would have been if it had been released without converging. Even if the amount of energy is the same, the pain felt is different when hit with a surface and when stabbed with the tip of a needle. By the same logic, the power of the concentrated destructive beam was orders of magnitude greater, even though it had the same energy. Guy remained calm despite seeing this, but the others were speechless. GRRR, that's a power that seems to rival my Dragon Star explosive flame ha. Draw.